Hello all of you out there in this world we perceive to be real. It's Jacob here with another PCGamesN hardware show. Today we're talking about VR headsets, these goggles that allow us to experience different worlds without leaving the comfort of our own homes. We've been promised true-to-life virtual reality since sci-fi was first thought up, but only recently has the tech been around that can make that, well, a reality. But while the first wave of VR headsets burst onto the scene a few years back, some gamers still aren't satiated with the current tech and are desperately hoping for new headsets that take VR to a new level of immersion. But with recent news from Oculus and HTC not looking too promising for PC gamers, I'm still left wondering, are we going to see second-gen PC gaming VR headsets anytime soon? VR is showing signs of maturing as an industry. The use for VR has expanded long beyond the scope of mere gaming alone. Professional headsets are now used for 3D modeling, creative work, education, simulation, and training. The scope of VR has changed dramatically since Oculus and Vive first launched back in 2016. What a change 2.5 years can make. Take the Vive Pro that HTC created for this very reason. At first it looked like the new VR headset gamers had been hoping for, but once it launched, it proved itself great for gaming if you had just under $1,100 in your back pocket. Note that HTC Vive Pro wasn't cheap, nor its enhancements big enough to warrant the title of Vive 2.0, so it was back to the drawing board. Luckily, Oculus takes a swing at a second headset not long after, which too isn't for gamers. The Oculus Go launched back in May, offering mobile virtual reality with local rendering, and rivaled the best mobile phone augmented VR headsets on the market. Both headsets prime examples of a changing market, moving toward a wider audience, targeting not just mainstream gamers, but mainstream people. Yuck. So do you want the good news or the bad news? Whatever your answer, I'm going with the bad news. I'm just that kind of guy. Oculus Connect just wrapped up and there's no new PC gaming headset in sight. Facebook's developer conference for its own virtual reality subsidiary held in San Jose tends to be where Oculus teases all of its shiny new tech stuff, and it just ended. The company did announce a brand new headset, but it's another standalone. That makes Oculus 2-to-1 on standalone versus PC-dependent headsets. The Oculus Quest was announced at the event, shipping next year, and tries to bring a little more of that tethered magic over to the wire-free market. It still runs off its own computation and graphics chips within its slender frame, but Oculus has learned a few new tricks since the Go was announced and implements some big changes regarding inside-out tracking, comfort, power, and experience with the Quest. It all looks pretty great too if you're in the standalone headset market, but it's not the PC gaming headset, powered by our ludicrous PCs with discrete graphics and 28,000 RGBs, that we were hoping for. With the launch of the Oculus Quest, my hope for a new tethered Oculus in the next few years also dried up. During his keynote at the event, Mark Zuckerberg, taking a time out from congressional hearings, confirmed that the Oculus Quest also completes the first generation of Oculus products. Moving on to the good... no wait, there's more bad news. Oculus co-founder and product chief Nate Mitchell recently told us that we will see Oculus continue to push on standalone VR in the years to come. It doubly looks like PC tethered VR, whether wirelessly tethered or tether-tethered, is really going to be left in the dust right now. That's because Oculus wants to make VR more easily accessible. Oculus, through various tech such as asynchronous space warp and asynchronous time warp, is attempting to lower load on graphical components, not increase it with high-end parts only a few can afford to buy and afford to run with a high-end gaming PC. While accessible VR and super high-end VR are two very different things, one certainly helps build the market for the other. With a wider audience, further success, and support from hardware and software companies alike, the chances for super high-end VR only ever increase as accessible VR grows in stature. Does that mean a new VR headset today? No. But as Mitchell puts it, we're always thinking about each of these different audiences, how we can best serve them with the hardware, the software, the services, and the content. All those things together are, ultimately, the products. That's about as far from confirmation of new gaming gear as you can get. Mitchell also denied any plans for a wireless adapter in the works anytime after either, but it does offer a glimmer of hope that Oculus hasn't given up on the successor to the Rift just yet. Right now, Oculus is focusing on accessibility, potentially even a wise move in getting VR out to the masses, and that ethos doesn't line up with PC gamers' hopes and dreams for next-gen kit just yet. But all is not lost, ye weary virtual gamers. There's plenty of great stuff out there that fills me with hope for a future where everyone can live their best life enveloped in tech like those humans in WALL-E. The first is the Virtual Link standard. You're probably familiar with this tech if you've looked into Nvidia's latest RTX 2080 and RTX 2080 Ti graphics cards. Some of you might even be running rigs with this little connector raring to go already. This is a standard implemented on Nvidia's latest cards to make VR easier. Specifically, this little port incorporates video, audio, and power into one single cable ready to beam across to your headset. That's a pretty big move for VR enthusiasts everywhere. Devs and manufacturers too will benefit from the move. Nvidia's graphics cards make up the majority of the market, with AMD, another signatory to the Virtual Link consortium, making up most of the rest. That's sure to boost adoption and get some more headsets out to the door to PC gamers. The next big step is the Knuckles controller. This controller is Steam's attempt at creating an input device perfectly capable of mimicking natural hand movement and bone structure in VR, and it just started shipping out to devs. We also heard from Nate Mitchell over at Oculus that the company hasn't ruled out a Rift Pro headset to compete with the HTC Vive Pro. That could mean competition starts simmering at the high end and brand new Halo products start appearing to best one another in offering the best experience that money can buy. And last, but certainly not least, you have the OpenXR API standard for VR. This developing standard, created by the Kronos Group, is similar to Virtual Link in that almost the entire industry has signed on to get it going. That includes the likes of AMD, Nvidia, Valve, Intel, Google, Microsoft, Oculus, Tobii, the list goes on. With a new API in tow, it's only going to get easier for new controllers, sensors, games, applications, apps, and headsets to communicate with each other and work without issue. That makes life a lot easier for new hardware and software and should help the VR industry expand faster than ever. But what about actual VR headsets, I hear you cry? Well, Pimax for one has been working on 5K and 8K VR headsets. Each offers higher resolutions and a wider field of view than what's on offer with the first-gen headsets on the market already. Some samples of the 5K model have started making their way out to backers and reviewers, in fact, with volume production to follow shortly after. But the toughest hurdle to jump is the graphical power required to drive the Pimax's resolution. Dropping frames in VR is the quickest way to get queasy, and even the top graphics tech of today just can't seem to keep up. Maybe some of that standalone trickery needs to be carried over to the mainstream space, or maybe we just need to wait for the next gen of graphics cards to take the brunt of 90 FPS virtual reality at resolutions you can't tell apart from real life. Nvidia too is working on a ton of technology that might make that rendering load a little lesser on your graphical components. But it's not all resolution that makes a difference to the VR experience. Oculus has been teasing another VR prototype called Half Dome. This VR headset utilizes eye tracking and varifocal displays to introduce dynamic focusing within VR applications and games. That could be a huge step in overall immersion and quality of experience with the next-gen VR headsets, and hopefully won't need a GPU with 20,000 CUDA cores to make it go. However, this is just in the prototype stage for the time being, and Oculus has already warned avid VR heads not to get too excited, as this technology is still a long way off from production. Well, I hope that this brief look at the future of VR hasn't made you too pessimistic. After all, there's still plenty to look forward to in the space, whether that's new amazing games on current tech, or second-gen headsets we might be waiting a good few years for at the very least. Whether you're excited for next-gen headsets, pessimistic like I, or even pumped for the standalone sets entering the market soon, let us know down in the comments. Also, if you like what you've seen, give us a like and subscribe, and hit that notifications bell for a truly immersive YouTube experience. This has been Jacob for PCGamesN, and thanks for watching.